Welcome to Fifth Dimensional Life Mass Human Awakening. I'm Lise, your host, and today I'm so excited. I am doing my very first interview with one of my all-time favorite truth seekers, truth tellers, Flex.
Hi,
Yay!
Lise. Thanks
Hi.
for having me.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. Oh my gosh, there's so much to say about you, and I just take it away. Give us the rundown of who Flex is, and we'll go into some questions.
Yeah, so my name is Flex. I started posting videos on YouTube about like maybe 7 years ago, but I changed my topic just a couple years ago to like truth investigations and politics and enlightenment. So that really picked up. A lot of people, I guess, wanted to hear what I had to say about those things. And it took off, and I have been posting ever since, Monday through Friday. And yeah, that's what people know me as. Respect.
Awesome.
Yeah.
On you like uncover a lot of like the nasties and the dirties too. And it's
Yeah.
just so shocking, a lot of the stuff that you uncovered. It's like, how are these people still walking out in public? Like how is that possible?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, if they say that they have your best interests in mind and they're instilling these policies because it's for your greater good, but then you find out all of these totally scandalous, illegal things that they're doing behind the scenes. It makes you wonder what their real purpose is and if your best interests are in mind, or if it's total opposite of that, you
Yeah.
know,
And
question
like
everything.
the whole system is just like corrupt to the core as well. And it's like with your videos, I know you can like connect so many of the dots through things like the Bushes and the Windsors and the Trudeaus and the Clintons. Oh my gosh, the Clintons.
It's Yeah, I mean, it's not openly discussed, all of that. It's like these secret things that just happen to be available to us to look further into, but it's not like they're going to say like, by the way, we're all related. It's just like you know.
Yeah,
So
totally. What were some of the main catalysts that like helped you awaken to the corruption and to spirituality?
I would say that it all started, like I was thinking about this question, and maybe it goes as far back as like high school when I was starting to do like my own research papers,
Mhm.
and then with food and learning about like genetically modified crops and hearing so many bad things about it, with so many people getting different allergies and ailments. Like, why do we continue to feed ourselves these things? Like, it's when there's better options. Um, that concerned me. And then
Mhm.
also regarding like cancer research, right? All of these companies to find the cure for all these various different ailments that are cancerous, but we'll never find the cure for it. Like millions
Yeah,
and millions, maybe even billions are being donated, but like, where's it going? Like, nothing's really happening with it. All it is to just treat the issue in the standard way, which will eventually lead to death, but there's no actual cure that's being investigated. I mean, like there is, and there's things are out, but it's just being suppressed. Once you look into it, you realize that's really what it comes down to. And
totally.
they'll lose money if, people stop donating. So obviously, you know, when you just think like logically about it, like if I had a business that was bringing in billions and billions of dollars just because people were like donating it to my PayPal, would I really say, hey guys, you don't have to do this anymore? Don't do it. We
Yep.
actually have the answers here. No, like nobody would. It's just money is the root of all evil. And unfortunately, it's just how our society runs. But given that, you just have to, uh, you know, be inquisitive and ask questions, don't blindly
Mhm.
follow the herd.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I got that too when I was younger. I was like, why is everyone sick and fat and just unhealthy and miserable and then continuously eating more? Like the portion sizes are massive too.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And then yeah. Oh, where are your
Yes,
like
the portion.
oh yeah.
No,
Keep
sorry.
going.
But yeah, but like portion sizes are huge, but then they say that, we don't have enough food, so we have to do the genetically modified route to feed so many people.
Yeah.
It just don't make no sense, none of it.
Mhm. Exactly. It's so much of it's like backwards. And it's
Oh,
funny because I'm actually drinking a Starbucks tea right
eight.
now.
I
But
like monsters. I drink monsters, but I can't put them on camera because then people yell at me. They're like,
Oh,
with all your truth, you know so much. Why would you do that? It's like, listen, if I really want to like, go that ham, I guess I wouldn't use notebooks. I would have to do everything digitally because then that would contribute to taking down trees. Everything is sourced from China, all parts. They're just then taken from China and then recreated in factories in America. So anything that says like made in America, it has parts that came from China, which is like sweatshop and slaves and sweatshops.
Yeah.
So, you can only do so much.
Totally.
It's really like a society issue.
Yeah. Well, and like when you have something that is like deep state, low vibrational, we have the ability to transmute that negative low vibration with our like higher consciousness and just our love vibration. So if you take something like Starbucks, put so much love into it, that counteracts so much of the negativity, and love is way stronger than evil is.
That's such a good point.
Whenever you're like, or anyone is like, oh, I shouldn't be drinking this, or I shouldn't be eating this, like put your loving, beautiful vibration into it and transmute that shit.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I do too. I mean, just being aware of your ability, like how much power we have as people, you can really start to hone in and take that to your advantage. Like Dr. Emoto is a scientist that studied that, where he would practice praying on water and then telling another cup of water that he hated it, and then he would freeze them, and then one would create beautiful crystalline formations and the other one would be very disarranged. So the work of Dr. Emoto is very powerful with understanding like the power of your thoughts and impressed onto something.
Yeah. Is that the same guy that did that with plants, or was it another guy that?
I know he did. Yeah. But a lot of people have done the studies like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And then like, was your family religious, or did you learn about spirituality like another way? How did that come about?
Well, I was raised going to Catholic school on Sundays, but like I went to public school. My mom went to Catholic school her whole life, raised with nuns teaching her and everything. Wow. So that's why then I just went on Sundays to learn more about like the religion, and, I have no complaints. I liked it. But regarding spirituality, I just started having like my own experiences, and just started to look more into it, and never really stopped. And we were talking about this on my channel the other day, like it's easier to relate to and talk about these things with people that maybe are our age, like the children that like God is sending into the world around this time are just like having these different abilities, easier to connect in that way. But it's hard to talk about it sometimes with older generations that don't understand it.
Yeah, it's like the level of indoctrinations, and how closed people's minds are, and they're like holding on to those paradigms so much. Like my parents, they're just like, ETs are demonic. And I'm like, well, I've met them and they're really nice. Not all of them. There's some that are mean, but there's a lot where there's way more that are loving, and they just want to help us. But we have to help ourselves first.
Yeah. So like when I was like a really little baby, I started writing with my left hand. And my grandmother, she's very religious. We grew up around nuns and going to Catholic school too, like my mom. But she would start switching my hand over to my right when I would write, because she believed that the devil wrote with her left hand. Oh my gosh. So I'm a right-handed person because my grandmother thought that the devil wrote with her left hand, would just like keep switching it over. But just like little things like that. Like, do we really think that somebody's demonic based off something like that? I don't think so, but hey, I have an open mind. And
it's good when you come into contact with those things. It's like, that's when you start asking more questions. Like, why does she believe those things? Like, who said that? Who, like, where did that originate from? You know, and people who are like super closed off, like, start asking questions. Like, why do I hold the belief systems that I do? Is it because I was like people ingrained that in my brain was when I was a little kid, and I was like encompassed by fear, so that's really
Yeah.
cool, like that you started asking a lot of questions when you're young.
Yeah. And I
then
was very fortunate that like my dad was very accepting of me and things that I talked about and experiences that I had. I was able to talk with him, and
awesome.
he was very helpful. And my mom too, they've all been very accepting of all the things that I post online now about like politics and stuff. They love it. They send me articles. They're very supportive. They like help me out in a lot of
Oh,
ways.
that's so
Yeah.
sweet. That's so good. You mentioned your dad also got you into like Edgar Casey, and do you want to talk more about that?
Yeah. Every night, right before bed, he had this little chair and a nightlight, and he would always like sit in his room and read like for an hour every night.
Mhm.
And got me interested in reading and learning more. And I noticed, he would be reading about like Edgar Casey and quantum physics, David Wilcock, and just like metaphysical spirituality, the power of the human body to, do all of these things that, aren't really talked about, but he never would like really talk about it much. And I think because like when I was younger, my mom would just be like, don't feed them that information. Like that, like don't talk about that stuff. They're gonna like, their friends are gonna think they're crazy. But I would always like ask him in secret, or like if we're driving somewhere, I'd
Mhm.
be like, wait, so like what were you talking about? Like, regarding like aliens and stuff. And he'd be like, yeah, like, this
Oh,
is
that's
like a
awesome.
program that the government has been working on. Like, no way, that's so fascinating. So in a way, like how we were talking about it in secret and just like reading books about it was like an interesting format, I think, that
Mhm.
developed the interest further into my life.
Totally. Oh, that's so cool. Especially like if parents are like, shoving things down a child's throat, but if they're like secretive about it, it's like, okay, the child's like, oh, I want to be more inquisitive in that.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about your friends, like your friend groups and stuff? Like, did any of that dynamic change when you were like posting so many truth bombs?
For the most part, like the closest friends have stuck around and they're really supportive and they think it's fascinating. They like that, I'm doing this like full time. It's like, crazy. I'm posting videos and that's what I
Mhm.
do now. Some of them in the beginning, when I was talking about politics, I never talked about politics before. So once, people address their political affiliations, that gets a little,
Mm.
scandalous. So some of them sort of stopped talking to me, but they're just like, um, it's all good. There's, I still reach out to them every once in a while now, but we're just not as close
Mhm.
anymore. Um, it's unfortunate, that's just what happens when you talk about politics. That's why before I always just tried to avoid it. Now that it's my
Mhm.
job, I can't avoid it. So it is what it is. If people want to stay around, that's great. If not, it's all good.
Yeah. What do you think the world needs most right now? Or like if you could tell the world, the top three things, what would those be?
I was thinking about this. The the first thing that I would say, because one, it's very individual, right? Everybody's going through different experiences in life. And what is really important for somebody to be focusing on now might be totally different for somebody else. But I would say generally, make sure that you learn from everything that you go through. And there's always like a lesson to be learned from every single experience that we have. And if you can learn from that, then you will be successful. So you can ask yourself, like, why did I just go through that? Like, why did this particular experience happen to me? And there was a reason that you specifically had that experience. If you can
Mhm.
figure out why, it always ends up being like, oh, for a good reason. Maybe you had to take that and help others and help, prevent that from happening to other people, or maybe it was self-improvement, but just making sure you like learn from everything. You can take that and apply it to everything.
Yeah, kind of like getting people out of the victim mentality. Like life is
Yeah.
not happening to us. We're like moving through life and learning as we go.
Yeah. So, like I have had like some like a lot of my family has been very religious, right? My mom's side of the family, they're all raised going to Catholic schools and stuff. And like, if something like really crazy would happen, they would say like, oh, like, why does God do this to me? Like, God doesn't like me. And I'm like, hold up, hold up.
Yeah.
You got something to learn from this. This is why,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
gotta have hardships to learn things so you can become a better person on the other end.
totally. You have so much conviction for finding the truth, and like it seems like you do a lot of like relentless research. What really like drives you for that?
So in the very beginning, when I started posting about this, I think it was out of frustration, seeing other people just blindly following orders and just vulnerably believing that politicians or anybody with an authoritative stance has your best interests in mind, and realizing just through a little bit of research that they don't. So that was my initial drive. Now that it's brought so much momentum and seeing so many people are interested in that and hearing about it, I'm now more driven because the people want to hear it. For a while, it was me just like keeping it inside, just hoping one day somebody will listen to me about all of this. And then it flipped, and now it's like, yes, they want to hear it. Okay, deliver.
Mm-hmm. Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
That's so cool. Where do you think things are going? Like, do you have any predictions of, especially with like the voting stuff in the States, or like with Biden? Do you have any predictions, like political kind of predictions?
Yeah. So regarding regarding the audits, nothing's going to happen with those. Biden's going to serve his full term. The DS, they're going to try to keep in power as long as they can. Biden might step down into his third year, and then they're going to have Kamala take over, and then have her in there for 4, and then maybe 4 more years if she can. Maybe if Biden is in there for 8, maybe like 7 years, maybe, or something like that. They'll just keep him in there like as long as he possibly can, and then they're gonna have Kamala take over. But that's their goal.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I mean, as long as the citizens keep working on trying to make sure that the integrity of the elections are safer, and we get off the internet of our voting machines, maybe something can change with all of that. But that's what my insider told me. Also, there was this Indian proverb that I posted on my Instagram, and I want to read it like word for word, because it says that during like the colonizations, and when they were taking out all of the Indians, this one Indian tribe was taken out, and they put a curse over all of the presidents of the United States for the coming years. And it said something like every president, it's called, here it is, Tecuma's curse. You want me to read it? Mm-hmm. Okay. In 1809, William Henry Harrison was the governor of the Indiana Territory as the United States continued expanding westward. In the Treaty of Fort Wayne, Harrison persuaded several Native American tribes to hand over their greatest wealth to the U.S. government, namely huge tracts of land. Harrison convinced certain warring tribes to turn against one another and accept very low payouts for their lands. And in some cases, more powerful tribes, such as the Wea, were bribed to coerce less powerful tribes, such as the Kickapoo, into accepting the treaty. And this coercion could easily have included threats, violence, terrorism, and murder. The Shawnee leader, Tecumseh, soon felt that they had all been tricked, and the wealth of their lands had been seized through a variety of unethical tactics. Tecumseh ultimately worked with his brother Tenskwatawa to create an alliance of Native American tribes that resisted the westward expansion of the United States. Tenskwatawa was a spiritual leader more than a military man, and was known as the Prophet. Tenskwatawa led his brother's army into battle against Harrison's forces in Tippecanoe on November 7th, 1811, while Tecumseh was off recruiting new allies. Ultimately, the Native Americans lost the war because of a lack of ammunition. Harrison became president in 1840, and by that point, many Native Americans felt that they had gotten a very bad deal. and they had given away their greatest treasure. And whatever payments they had received in exchange had long since been forgotten. The prophet made a public curse against Harrison and all future American presidents as an act of revenge for the seizure of their land. Tenskwatawa then said that every president elected during a year that ended in a zero, just as Harrison had been, would die in office. This would create a 20-year cycle if it actually worked, and many thousands of people believed in it. Harrison died of pneumonia in 1841 while in office, seemingly terrifying that the curse was working. Lincoln was next. The pattern continued like clockwork, straight through until Ronald Reagan, George W. Bush, both of whom survived assassination attempts. The presidents who were elected during the years in this curse and died in office were William Henry Harrison, elected in 1840, Abraham Lincoln, elected in 1860, James A. Garfield, elected in 1880, William McKinley, elected in 1900, Warren G. Harding, elected in 1920, Franklin D. Roosevelt, elected in 1940, and John F. Kennedy, elected in 1960. In fact, the only president who died in office and was not elected in one of the cursed years was Zachary Taylor, who won an election in 1848 and died in 1850. So in 1998, I was given a yellow spring type of, so essentially, hey, if all goes to plan, if he won 2020, Tecumseh curse is on him. According to history, every president has passed that has won in a year with a zero.
Interesting.
There. Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
I could be wrong. I mean, maybe Biden is a little miracle and he won't.
Or they just have so many clones of him. They just
or he's a clone.
Switching them in. It's like, who knows anymore? It's like, it's hard to believe anything that's on TV or what anyone says, because it's just like, you guys have lied so many times. Why should I believe you now? Or why should I believe that? So what's your truth radar,
What's my truth radar?
Yeah.
I don't trust anything on mainstream media, but I use it as a base for getting news to report on or to help start with unraveling, what's really going on behind it. The heads of major news stations have even gone to Congress and had to testify about where they obtained their information from, and one of them being the CIA. CIA, working with Disney to buy up all the swamplands in Florida, to put their studies into children's shows for propaganda. It's all propaganda to manipulate just the definition of government. It's to control our minds, control people.
Well, that's good that you can see through the bullshit and see beyond that. That's a huge thing too. I think that's missing in a lot of people is they're so oblivious and naive, just I'll just blindly trust and lay down, whereas people like you are no, I'm going to find everything out about all of this.
And it sucks. I wish that we could easily trust the people that we get our information from and who has authority over us, but if we shouldn't, then we shouldn't. So I'm not going to be ignorant to it.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. And then for how should I word this? When at some point, because on my channel I talk a lot about extraterrestrials, as you know, and Earth is making so many shifts and dimensional shifts. When we are at the point where humanity does open up and become a cosmic society, what are your thoughts on that and the disclosure of advanced technologies like anti-gravity crafts, zero point energy, all of that?
I'm really curious to see how that's going to unfold regarding anti-gravity technology. Because, right now the kleptocrats that run the governments make their money off of the natural resources. So I don't see them voluntarily giving up their money-making machine. But if we can get more backyard inventors to create these things, and we have enough people to protect them so they don't get suicided, maybe we'll be able to like mass produce it at a local level and get it out to people that way. But it's not going to go like any mainstream route, I don't think, unless something like some terrible event happens and we all just have to go back to just like local everything.
Have you looked into any of those like solar flares where that could take out like the full electrical grid on Earth?
Yeah, that's a really big threat. I think that's like one of America's biggest threats right now is events like that. But I don't know. I mean, the other beings definitely want to see us survive and get through our tough times. So like in 2012, there actually was this big asteroid that was heading towards our planet. It was like the size of Mount Everest, I think. And it was supposed to hit the Earth. And Obama was president and he didn't tell anybody. But they and all of Congress actually went into hiding. They went underground, and because them and all their families, they were expecting this huge event to happen, but they didn't tell anyone. And then something knocked it off its course and it ended up not hitting us. So yeah, I don't know, act of God, aliens, I don't know, something that didn't want it to hit us, stopped it. But that's a verifiable event. David Adair talked about that. He's like a child prodigy that's worked with the government. And yeah, people in Congress could tell you about that. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. So we're definitely being protected from things out there.
No doubt. And then like, because you mentioned, it's very frustrating to watch all the political issues play out. Do you think that you'll get into politics at some point, or have you already made that move yet or anything?
I don't know. Like right now, I really enjoy just being more of a journalist and reporting on what goes on and making the connections with people that are in Congress to help them get their message out through my platform when, mainstream media tries to spin on them and, paint them in a different light because it goes against maybe their agenda regarding then the best interests of the people. I'm not old enough yet, but in a couple years I will be, but I still don't think that it's something I want to, give up what I'm doing now over. I would support other people doing it. And like work closely with people. I don't know, like maybe, but yeah.
I find like, I think it would be a lot of like people judging you before they even like hear you out too, it would be just kind of painful in that way, maybe.
Yeah. But right now it's just so divided. It's hard for anyone to get anything done, with any little topic. There's literally nothing that we can agree on, which makes you really skeptical of like the whole two-party system.
Yeah.
Like they just don't even want a third party because then that will introduce the possibility of there being an agreement anywhere, possibly. It's just like all designed to just keep us divide and conquer.
Totally.
And like people in Congress, they're so busy, they don't even have time to research. They're given these 1,000-page documents the night before they're supposed to vote on them. So it's like, how can you even do the job correctly when it's designed against everybody for both sides? I don't know. Have you seen the movie Swamp? It's like a documentary.
No.
About DC. Yeah, it talks about a lot of the way Congress works, where if individual congressmen don't agree to accept donations from large PACs, then they have to do like cold calling, and it takes up their entire time. And it's just, it's all designed around getting them to like vote in a certain way and do what they're supposed to do, or else they're going to have a lot more difficult time. Yeah, it's not made out in anyone's favor that wants to help the people. It's crazy.
It's like sickening. It makes your stomach kind of turn like,
yeah.
It's
sick. But hey, that's why there's people like you and I that are here to bring exposure to it, a positive outlook on the planet, and hopefully people will change.
Yeah, totally. What do you think about like Russia, China, and some of the other countries that are really like competing for kind of the top world spot? Like US has always been like such a big powerhouse country for manufacturing and consumer purchases and all of that. Like, what do you see right now going on with other countries, and what do you predict?
Well, I think a lot of them are just working together to keep their money machines flowing. They're all just making sure everybody's happy through any different way, like whether it's like an oil pipeline or a coal mine or something. That's like how the world's running. It seems like how all the governments are running. It's just yeah, but it's all corrupt, and it's like a what's the word, a gang, like a criminal gang. And sometimes even with themselves, they'll do these business deals and then they'll take out their business partners.
Yeah. Like
So
mafia.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to, be up in that. But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like the CCP, oh my gosh. I used to live in China. I love China so much.
You lived in China?
Yeah, in Shandong province.
Really? What'd you do there?
I studied Mandarin, and then also I was teaching English.
Oh, wow.
Didn't go as well as planned. They made it out to seem like way better than it actually was. I won't go into too much of that, but it was, I love the people and the food, some of the best and worst food ever. But like, seeing how amazing the country is and the people, but then seeing like how the CCP runs it and the military, like I got woken up almost like every night or every morning at like 4 a.m. by military. And
really?
it was there's just this huge field out where I could look out, and there was like just rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of people, probably like at least 10,000 or more. And that was in like one of like military training. And that was like one of the smaller cities that I was in Li, Shandong. And oh my gosh, they just have such a huge military presence. And seeing it with your own eyes too is like, holy, this,
wow,
what's gonna happen
so like
with that?
They're all in the military, basically.
So, well, because what happened years ago, like China was so overpopulated. There's not enough resources to go around there. They had to do so many different things, like eating wild animals and only having one child in their families. And majority of families only wanted a male heir. So I don't know what the number is. Maybe you know it. I think there's like 20 million men that'll never have like the ability to have a spouse or like a wife. And then there's a certain portion of them that are like homosexual or asexual or whatever. But
oh wow, so because there's so many men.
Yeah. And like I don't know if it was Edgar Casey, or no, it was Nostradamus. One of his predictions is that the Chinese military or something will invade America, and there's like a whole bunch of those men that are gonna like take women, or I don't know, do some weird things. If people want to look into it, it's pretty messed up. I don't even want to like speak it into reality.
I wouldn't put it past me. I mean, they already sort of have taken over, like infiltrated our institutions and stuff.
Real estate.
So I don't know if that's what they mean by it.
Yeah. It could totally be that like other side of infiltration.
Yeah. There's also this, do you know Baba Vanga?
Yeah.
I don't know much about her, but I just started to look into it. Somebody sent me something saying that 6 of her predictions for 2022. 1 is an increase in catastrophes. 2 is a lethal virus in Siberia. 4 is a shortage of drinking water. 3 is a shortage of water. 4 is alien encounter on Earth. 5 is locusts in India, and 6 is loss of sense of reality.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, well, we already are starting to lose our sense of reality.
Oh yeah. Totally. Well, and it's like, what is reality? Because, you know, there's like the 3D physical stuff, but then we have our 4D, like non-physical, 5, 6, like infinite basically, that you could go into. And we've only been taught and programmed about the physical, but we've been like so closed off to the other energetic parts of ourselves, of our own bodies.
I think it's going to get to a point where we're just going to have to start talking about, you know, like just like the other dimensions, and just starting to incorporate that into our systems. Like right now, all of our systems are designed in that way, where everything is very compartmentalized, right? We have a health department, and then we have like our food department, and then we have like psychology, psychiatrists, and then we have, you know, like libraries. But eventually it's like all going to become one, and like we're going to have to understand we have to integrate all of it. And so in order to do that, it's like all the other systems sort of has to like either dissipate or work with it.
Yeah, just like this big breakdown.
Yeah, like you need to incorporate the higher, you know, levels of yourself into health if you want to be optimally healthy.
Yeah.
And with food too, like we were just saying, like praying on your food, having like positive thoughts when you maybe slaughter an animal or you eat it, just like, you know, being very grateful, you know, thankful, and, you know, do it in like the most humane way. And all of that will contribute to like how the food affects your body, you know, whether it hurts you or it helps you.
Absolutely. That's what I tell my kids right now. So they're just, my daughter, especially, she's 5. She's just learning like, oh, those chickens are so cute. And I'm like, wow, here's some chicken. She's like, what? Oh, we're eating those. And pigs too, because there's like pork chops and bacon and ham. And they're just like, it's like a magical animal, like Homer Simpson.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you just give thanks and send love to the animals. And
so sad. Like, I don't know. I was talking with a Native American about this because like I thought like initially I started to slowly wean out meat of my diet, because I was like, wait, like, you know, we can't do this to animals. Like, this is like terrible. And, you know, I was talking to a Native American who was like, well, I can't even like stay fully in this world if I don't eat meat. Like, meat is very grounding and it helps you like stay in this dimension. If not, like, I'll just be like out astral flying everywhere, because you just like buzz out. You're out there, you know.
That's so funny. I gave up meat for a while. I was just like so turned off from it, and I was having all these visitations of these beings come in, and I like couldn't even eat really like sugar or just things that were like really low vibrational. But like, man, I was like on other planets, like other worlds.
Okay, so you were noticing that your diet was contributing maybe a little bit?
Absolutely. So much.
When I was like very heightened spiritually, I was following a very strict diet, but also just with routine down to when I drank water every day. I had like alarms set 4 times a day to make sure like I drank enough water, make sure I ate at the same time every day. It helps me be more efficient though, also with my work, and like being very productive, being on the routine, but also being on routine really helps you expand your consciousness.
Absolutely. I find cleansing helps too so much. So we're, you know, getting poisoned by so many different things. So just like removing those toxins, like with charcoal, like activated charcoal, or just like lemon juice, things like that.
My family was really into detoxifying when my brother got like really sick in high school, and like the Western medicine route made him more sick. So we started to do like the natural way of like detoxifying your liver, doing like liver cleanses, like kidney flushes, and
Awesome.
yeah, just all the different ways to detoxify, like chelate, and yeah, it helped.
Cool.
Helped a lot. Yeah,
It's awesome. And one of your sponsors, I think, it's like Evo 60, E60.
oh yeah, C60 Evo.
C60
Yeah.
Evo. How, like, do you want to go into that, or like some of your other sponsors and how those things came about?
Yeah, so I work with an advertising agency who um, connects me with a whole bunch of different companies. They, list a whole bunch, and then I can test out the products and look into them and research them, and pick out ones that I think are, ones that I want to promote. And C60 Evo was one of them. There's just like a lot of health benefits to it. I'm going to be doing some more ads for them this month, but
Cool.
yeah, like, the benefits are endless. You'll see like improvements in your skin and your hair, and it has a carbon molecule in it that's called like a miracle molecule, which helps with a whole variety of different like ailments and stuff.
Cool. I want to try that stuff out.
Yeah.
And then you have like the prepare, like the prep meals, and the gold. Those things sound so interesting too. I haven't gotten into too many of those things, but have you tried anything that's like amazing, or else like tried anything that's not good?
The one thing that I didn't want to promote again was this like machine, like massage thing that goes on your neck. It was just like really weird. I think people should do like human touch. You massage each other. Don't like buy this machine to put on your back. It's a little weird. But
that's funny.
Yeah, it's important to have ready preparedness meals and water. You want to stock up on a lot of water. I'm buying a whole bunch of cases and just keeping them in my basement. Just because we already saw like, a glimpse of what it looks like to have bare grocery stores, and we don't want to have to go through that. So being stocked up for at least like 3 months would probably be safe.
I have like a whole bunch of water, and I have this little closet that I just keep like putting more and more stuff into.
Good.
But I'm always like, okay, it's like -30 here. If the power were to go out, like it's gonna be so cold. I don't know what would we do.
Do you have like firewood and like an above ground little fire pit?
Like a little bit, but not enough, especially for like little kids and stuff. I have some neighbors though that have like chimneys, so I know there's people around here that have wood burning stoves and stuff. So I'm like, okay, we'll just go and see them. But
yeah, I grew up with a fireplace. I really want to get a house that has one, because then at least you'd like burn wood and be able to warm your house a little.
Yeah, totally. Well, it's like you have to think of all these things with like prepping. It's like, hey, how am I going to get this thing done, and this and this and this, like, because that's totally a possibility of everything being wiped out. And then it's like, okay, we have to start fresh, and this is part of our journey.
Yeah, like how can we survive off of not using electricity or electronics? So I've been looking into like farmland. Like I want to get a couple horses, because then I can like travel around. It'll be, at least I'll have a mode of transportation.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. I want to like, do you have any other random facts or anything else that you want to share?
I would say balance is really important. That is what I'm working on with my life. You have your professional life, and then you have your social life, and making sure you eat healthy and set routines, set healthy boundaries for, relationships, and make sure you stay close and mend any issues with your family. You want to have healthy relationships with your family. There's a balance also between, work and play. And, my issue right now is I do too much work. I do too much research, and I have to learn how to play too, like have fun, go out, like take a break, laugh a little, forget about all of this for a little while. So, like sometimes I don't work on weekends, and I have to start doing something like that. Like maybe like one day a week I cannot work.
Yeah. That's good. It's hard though sometimes too, because you're like, oh, what about this thing? Or I heard about this like different cloning lab or something, it's like tantalizing that you just have to like
get
into it.
I know. It's a running thing with me.
Yeah.
Well, I have to just like set alarms, like I'll get back to it.
Yeah. Well, I have some other questions, but about spirituality and ETs and stuff. But maybe on another video we can go into like a deep dive of that or something whenever.
Yeah, definitely. Like, my hesitation is only because I see a lot of backlash when I even like discuss that stuff. So I just like with my following, I just think they're not open to it yet. But I mean, I would love to talk about it with you, and if it can help other people, especially because there's a lot more people that are having experience or who are experiencing their multidimensional selves just naturally, and we don't really have education systems to help understand it. Talking with each other is the best way to do that.
And sharing our experiences too. It's like when I started having mine, and you probably felt the same too with yours, it's like, am I alone? Am I crazy? You ask yourself all those questions, and then once you actually can validate it and hear other people, and it's like, I had that same thing too. Oh my gosh. It's like that other part of normal, other multidimensional normal, whatever that is, but cool. Well, we'll save it for another time and just start like dripping it into your following of people, and hopefully they'll open up.
I will. Yeah, I try. So it's a slow process.
Thank you so much. And
thanks for having me. We'll have to schedule another time for you to come on my channel, and we'll definitely work together more.
Totally. I'm so excited. That I want to do that top 10 list of things that humanity needs to know, and also I want to like bring it forth to world governments and say, like, we have all this evidence for these things. You guys have to disclose it. It's, you can't not withhold this information.
Right. Like, that's why we don't trust you. That's why we don't trust them.
Cool. Let's make it happen.
Awesome.
Really? Okay. Thanks so much.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.